The Awakening. The vast emptiness of space suddenly blazed with light as thousands of massive ships materialized seemingly out of nowhere. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, covered in strange markings that pulsed with an inner glow. As the fleet hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, the galaxy held its breath. On the planet Zephyria, home to the Galactic Council, alarms blared across every government building. Chancellor Vexthor, a towering insectoid with iridescent wings, burst into the emergency command center. His antennae twitched nervously as he surveyed the chaotic scene before him. "Report," he demanded, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the main view screen. A junior analyst, her scales shifting colors rapidly in distress, responded, "Chancellor, we're detecting over 10,000 ships of unknown origin. They appeared simultaneously across multiple sectors. Our long-range scans indicate they're of human design." The room fell silent. Humans were a relatively new species to the galactic stage, barely a century into faster-than-light travel. They were seen as primitive, their technology laughably outdated compared to the older races. Yet here was a fleet that dwarfed anything the Council races had ever produced. "Impossible," Vexthor muttered. "Contact Earth immediately. We need answers." Across the galaxy on Earth, Dr. Ilara Chen stared at her computer screen in disbelief. As the lead synorchaeologist at the United Earth Government's Department of Extraterrestrial Studies, she had dedicated her life to uncovering humanity's past. But nothing could have prepared her for this. "Director Harris," she called out, her voice trembling. "You need to see this." Harris, a grizzled veteran of both terrestrial and extraterrestrial conflicts, leaned over her shoulder. His eyes widened as he took in the data streaming across the screen. "My God," he whispered. "It's true. The Lazarus Protocol has been activated." Ilara turned to him, confusion etched on her face. "The what?" Harris straightened, his expression grim. "It's classified at the highest levels, a failsafe put in place by our ancestors. If humanity ever faced extinction, dormant fleets hidden across the galaxy would awaken to ensure our survival." Before Ilara could respond, an aide burst into the room. "Sir, we're receiving urgent communications from the Galactic Council. They're demanding explanations about the fleet." Harris nodded, his mind racing. Tell them we're as surprised as they are. We're investigating the situation and will provide more information as soon as we have it." As Earth scrambled to understand the situation, panic spread across alien worlds. The Vrol, a warrior race known for their aggressive expansion, mobilized their armadas. The Etheri, masters of energy manipulation, began charging their planetary defense grids. Countless other species prepared for what they saw as an imminent human invasion. Aboard the UES Horizon, Earth's flagship, Admiral Sarah Jung received the emergency transmission. Her crew worked feverishly to make sense of the flood of data pouring in from across known space. "Ma'am," her XO reported, "we're picking up movement from multiple alien fleets. They're converging on the human ships." Zhang's eyes narrowed. "Defensive postures only. We can't risk escalating this further until we know what we're dealing with." As the horizon approached the nearest cluster of ancient ships, Zhang couldn't shake the feeling that humanity stood on the precipice of something monumental. The next few hours would determine whether this awakening led to war or wonder. On Zephyria, Chancellor Vexthor faced the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council. The chamber buzzed with fearful whispers and angry outbursts. "Order." Vexthor's voice boomed across the hall. "We must approach this situation with caution. The humans claim no knowledge of this fleet's origins." The Vrul ambassador, his crimson scales bristling, snarled, "Lies. This is clearly a prelude to invasion. We must strike now, before they can fully activate their weapons." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Vexthor raised his hands, calling for silence. "And risk starting a war based on assumptions? No. We will send a diplomatic mission to meet with the human representatives. We must have answers before we take any drastic actions." As the council debated, Dr. Ilara Chen found herself aboard a hastily prepared shuttle, racing towards the coordinates of the nearest ancient ship. Beside her sat a team of Earth's top scientists and a contingent of heavily armed Marines. "I still can't believe this," she murmured, staring out the viewport at the approaching colossus. Its size defied comprehension, easily dwarfing even the largest known space stations. The shuttle's pilot's voice crackled over the comm. "Doctor, we're picking up an energy signature. The ship, it's powering up." Ilara's heart raced as she watched sections of the massive vessel come to life, intricate patterns of light spreading across its hull like awakening neural pathways. As they drew closer, a massive hangar bay opened, as if inviting them in. "It's like it knows we're here," one of the Marines whispered, his grip tightening on his weapon. As the shuttle entered the cavernous bay, Ilara felt a sense of homecoming she couldn't explain. Somehow, deep in her bones, she knew that the answers they sought would change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe forever. The awakening had begun, and with it, the galaxy trembled on the edge of a new era, one that would either usher in unprecedented cooperation or plunge all known species into a war unlike any they had ever seen. Diplomacy under fire. The shuttle's landing echoed through the cavernous hangar bay of the ancient human ship. Dr. Ilara Chen stepped out, her breath catching as she took in the sheer scale of the interior. The Marines fanned out, weapons at the ready, while the team of scientists huddled close, their excitement palpable. "It's incredible," Ilara whispered, running her hand along a nearby wall. The surface pulsed with a soft, blue light at her touch. "It's as if the ship is alive." Suddenly, a holographic interface sprang to life before them. Alien symbols flashed across the display, rapidly shifting until they resolved into recognizable English. "Welcome, descendants," a disembodied voice echoed through the hangar. "I am ARIA, the Artificial Reconstitution and Integration Assistant. You have questions. I have answers." Before Ilara could respond, her comm unit crackled to life. Admiral Zhang's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Dr. Chen, we have a situation. A Galactic Council delegation is approaching, and they're not alone. Several Vrol warships have broken formation and are on an intercept course with the fleet." Ilara's mind raced. They needed time to understand what they were dealing with, but the galaxy wasn't going to wait. "Araya," she called out, "we need to know the purpose of this fleet. Why has it awakened now?" The AI's response was immediate and chilling. Primary directive: ensure the survival of humanity in the face of extinction-level threats. Current threat detected: solar flare of unprecedented magnitude approaching Earth's solar system. Estimated time to impact: 72 hours. The scientists exchanged horrified glances. Earth's current defenses were nowhere near capable of handling a threat of that magnitude. Ilara keyed her comm. "Admiral, we have a bigger problem than the aliens." As Ilara relayed Aria's warning, tensions in space were reaching a boiling point. The Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel, flanked by ships from various member species, approached the massive human fleet. Leading the delegation was Ambassador Zara, a respected Aetheri known for her cool head in crisis. "This is Ambassador Zara of the Galactic Council," she broadcast on all frequencies. "We come seeking peaceful dialogue regarding the sudden appearance of your fleet." Admiral Zhang, aboard the UES Horizon, responded carefully. "Ambassador, we welcome the opportunity for dialogue. However, we've just discovered information critical to the safety of not only Earth, but potentially many worlds. We request an immediate conference." Before Zara could respond, alarms blared across both fleets. The Vrol warships, ignoring commands from both the Council and their own government, opened fire on the nearest ancient human ship. Energy weapons lanced out, striking the massive vessel. For a moment, it seemed as if the attack had been successful. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the damage simply undid itself. The ship's hull flowed like liquid, sealing ruptures and regenerating destroyed sections in seconds. Aroya's voice echoed through every human comm channel. Hostile action detected. Initiating defensive protocols. Ilara watched in awe as the ancient ship came fully to life. Massive energy projectors emerged from previously unseen ports, targeting the Vrol ships with unerring precision. Beams of coruscating energy lanced out, not destroying the attackers, but enveloping them in shimmering fields. "What's happening?" one of the Marines asked, his voice a mix of fear and wonder. Araya responded, its tone unchanged. "Non-lethal containment fields deployed. Hostile vessels have been immobilized and disarmed." On the Galactic Council ship, Ambassador Zera struggled to maintain order. Representatives from various species argued vehemently, some calling for full-scale war against the humans, others urging caution and diplomacy. Silence. Zora's voice cut through the chaos. "We cannot allow fear to drive us to rash action. The humans have requested a conference, and given the ease with which they neutralized the Vrul attack, I suggest we listen." Back on the ancient ship, Ilara and her team worked feverishly to understand the wealth of information ARIA was providing. The AI explained that the fleet had been created by a far more advanced human civilization that had existed millions of years ago. This ancient humanity had spread across the stars, only to face a catastrophic event that had nearly wiped them out. The progenitors, as we called them, knew that one day their descendants might face similar threats. Arayev explained. "So they created us, a hibernating fleet that would awaken when needed most." As Ilara digested this world-shattering information, Admiral Zhang's voice came through her comm once more. "Doctor, we've arranged an emergency conference with the Galactic Council representatives. We need you there. The fate of Earth, hell, maybe the whole galaxy, might depend on what you've learned." Hours later, aboard a hastily prepared neutral space station, representatives from Earth, the ancient fleet, in the form of Araya's holographic avatar, and the various Galactic Council races gathered. The tension in the room was palpable. Admiral Zhang opened the proceedings, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Distinguished representatives, we face a crisis that threatens not just humanity, but potentially many worlds. Dr. Chen will explain." Ilara stood, acutely aware of the alien eyes upon her. She took a deep breath and began to speak, outlining the impending solar flare and its potential for devastation. As she spoke, holographic projections provided by ARIA illustrated the scale of the threat. The ancient fleet, Ilara concluded, possesses technology far beyond our current capabilities. It may be our only hope of averting this catastrophe. The room erupted into a cacophony of alien voices. Ambassador Zora raised her hand, calling for quiet. "This is unprecedented. How can we trust that this fleet, this Araya, truly has the capabilities it claims? And why should we believe that humans will not use this power to dominate the galaxy once the crisis has passed?" Araya's hologram stepped forward. "Our primary directive is the preservation of life, not just human life. The progenitors understood the value of cosmic diversity. We offer our aid freely to all species threatened by this solar event." The debate raged on, hours stretching into days as the clock ticked down. Some races, like the Aetheri, cautiously supported working with the humans and their ancient fleet. Others, particularly the Vrol, remained vehemently opposed, seeing the situation as an elaborate human ploy for galactic domination. As arguments and counterarguments flew, Ilara found herself in a heated discussion with Krav, the Vrol ambassador whose ships had attacked the fleet. "You expect us to believe that this conveniently appeared armada is here to save us all?" Krav snarled, his scales flushing dark red in anger. Ilara met his gaze steadily. "Ambassador, I understand your skepticism. But consider this. If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, why would we invent a threat that puts our own world at the greatest risk? We're asking for your help, not your submission." Her words seemed to give Krav pause, and Ilara pressed her advantage. "Moreover, think of the technological exchange this cooperation could bring. The ancient fleet's capabilities could advance all our civilizations by centuries. As the conference stretched on, reports came in from across the galaxy. The effects of the approaching solar flare were beginning to be felt. Comm systems were failing, shield generators were straining, and panic was spreading among civilian populations. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of debate, a consensus began to form. The threat was too great, the potential benefits too significant to ignore. With great reluctance, even the most skeptical races agreed to a temporary alliance. Ambassador Zora, looking exhausted but relieved, made the official announcement. In light of the unprecedented threat we face, the Galactic Council hereby agrees to work alongside humanity and the ancient fleet to combat this crisis. May our cooperation forge a new era of interstellar relations. As the assembly broke up, races beginning to coordinate their efforts with Araya and human representatives, Ilara allowed herself a moment of hope. They had cleared the first hurdle, but the real challenge lay ahead. With less than 48 hours until the solar flare struck, they would need every second and every ounce of cooperation to save not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy. The once hostile alien races now turned to humanity and its miraculous fleet as their last, best hope for survival. The next 2 days would determine the fate of entire civilizations and potentially reshape the galactic order forever. The looming threat. As the hours ticked away, the combined forces of humanity, the ancient fleet, and the Galactic Council races scrambled to prepare for the impending solar flare. The space around Earth buzzed with activity as ships from a dozen different species worked alongside the towering behemoths of the progenitor fleet. Dr. Ilara Chen found herself at the heart of this unprecedented cooperation. Aboard the UES Horizon, now serving as the command center for the joint operation, she worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between alien technologies and the advanced systems of the ancient ships. Araya, Ilara called out, her voice hoarse from hours of non-stop work. Can you show us the latest projections for the flare's impact? The AI's hologram materialized, displaying a terrifying visualization of the approaching cosmic storm. The flare's magnitude continues to exceed our initial estimates, Araya reported, its tone as calm as ever. At current projections, approximately 60% of inhabited systems in this sector will experience severe to catastrophic effects. Admiral John, her uniform wrinkled from countless hours on duty, rubbed her temples. We're running out of time. Araya, what's the status on the shield network? Integration of etheri energy matrices with progenitor shielding technology is at 78% completion. Araya responded. However, current projections indicate coverage will fall short by 22% at time of impact. The news sent a ripple of despair through the command center. Ilara's mind raced, searching for a solution. Suddenly, an idea struck her. What if we supplement the shield network with the Vrol's quantum singularity generators? All eyes turned to Krav, the Vrol ambassador who had been quietly observing from a corner of the room. His scales shifted colors rapidly, a sign of internal conflict. Finally, he spoke, his voice a low growl. The singularity generators are our most closely guarded technology. To share them would be to save billions of lives. Ilara interrupted, her eyes blazing with determination, including your own people's. For a long moment, tension crackled in the air. Then, to everyone's surprise, Crab's posture softened. Very well, human. We will share our technology. But know this, if this is some elaborate deception, the Vrol will not rest until we have our vengeance. As Krav left to make the necessary arrangements, Ambassador Zora approached Ilara. That was impressive, the Aetheri said, her luminescent skin pulsing with what Ilara had come to recognize as admiration. You may have just turned the tide in our favor. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Let's hope so. We're going to need every advantage we can get. Over the next few hours, Vrol engineers worked alongside humans and other alien races to integrate their quantum singularity technology into the growing shield network. The ancient ships, guided by HFY, served as the backbone of the defense system, their massive forms anchoring the energy fields that would hopefully protect billions of lives. As the deadline approached, a tense quiet fell over the assembled fleets. On countless worlds across the affected sector, populations huddled in shelters or watched the skies with fearful anticipation. Admiral Zheng's voice cut through the silence. All ships, report status. One by one, vessels from each race confirmed their readiness. Ilara held her breath as the final checks were completed. They had done all they could. Now, it was time to face the fury of the cosmos. Energy spike detected, Araya announced. Solar flare impact in 3, 2, 1. A blinding light filled every viewport and sensor display. The combined shield network flared to life, a shimmering barrier of intertwined energies spanning millions of kilometers. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if the defenses might buckle under the onslaught. Then, miraculously, the shields held. Cheers erupted across the command center. Aliens and humans alike embraced, their differences momentarily forgotten in the joy of survival. But their celebration was short-lived. Alert! Araya's voice cut through the noise. Unknown energy signature detected within the solar flare matrix. The main view screen shifted, zooming in on a section of the fading flare. There, amidst the swirling cosmic energies, a shape began to take form. It was vast, easily dwarfing even the largest of the progenitor ships. By the eternal void, Krav whispered, his scales paling to a sickly gray. It can't be. Zara turned to the Vril ambassador, her usual composure shaken. You recognize this entity? Krav nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the screen. There are ancient legends among my people, tales of cosmic devourers that feed on the energy of stars. We dismissed them as myths. But this, as they watched, the entity continued to coalesce. It appeared almost crystalline in structure, with facets that seemed to bend light in impossible ways. Tendrils of energy extended from its form, probing the space around it. It's feeding off the residual energy from the flare. Ilara realized, her scientific mind racing to comprehend what she was seeing. The solar event wasn't natural. This thing caused it. Araya's avatar flickered, its normally impassive face showing what could only be described as concern. Analysis complete. The entity matches descriptions found in progenitor records. Designation: Cosmic Devourer. Threat level: Omega. Admiral Zheng's voice was tight as she asked the question on everyone's mind. Araya, what are we dealing with here? What's an Omega-level threat? The cosmic devourers are ancient beings that traverse the universe, consuming the energy of stars and leaving dead systems in their wake, Araya explained. They are responsible for the fall of countless civilizations, including, it seems, the progenitors themselves. A stunned silence fell over the command center as the implications sank in. They had survived the solar flare, only to face a threat beyond their worst nightmares. Ilara's mind whirled with questions. But why here? Why now? Araya's response was chilling. It is likely that the combined energy signatures of our advanced civilizations attracted its attention. The solar flare was merely its way of testing our defenses. As if in response to Araya's words, the cosmic devourer began to move. Its massive form turned towards the assembled fleets, tendrils of energy reaching out hungrily. All ships, battle stations. Admiral Zheng's order rang out across all frequencies. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. As vessels from every race scrambled to form defensive positions, Ilara felt a weight settle in her chest. They had prepared for a natural disaster, but now faced an enemy that had brought low even the mighty progenitors. Yet, as she looked around at the diverse group of beings working together in the face of this cosmic horror, a spark of hope flickered in her heart. Perhaps, united as they were now, they stood a chance where their ancestors had failed. The cosmic devourer loomed ever closer, its crystalline form distorting the very fabric of space around it. The combined fleets of the galaxy, once divided by suspicion and fear, now stood as one against a threat to all existence. Admiral Zhang's voice, steady and resolute, echoed through the command center. All hands, prepare for battle. The fate of every living being in this sector, perhaps the entire galaxy, rests on what we do next. Whatever our differences, whatever our past conflicts, none of that matters now. We fight as one, or we fall as one. As the orders were relayed and weapon systems powered up across thousands of ships, Ilara found herself standing between Krav and Zara. The Vrol and Etheri representatives, once bitter rivals, now shared a look of grim determination. For the galaxy, Krav growled, his clawed hand gripping his control panel. For all life, Zara added, her luminescent skin pulsing with resolve. Ilara nodded, her eyes fixed on the approaching monstrosity. For our future. The cosmic devourer's tendrils lashed out, and the battle for survival began. In that moment, the true test of this newfound galactic alliance would be written in fire across the stars. Battle for survival. The void of space erupted into chaos as the combined fleets of the galaxy engaged the cosmic devourer. Energy weapons of a dozen different designs lanced out, striking the crystalline entity's massive form. For a moment, hope surged through the allied forces as the monster's surface crackled with the impact. But that hope was short-lived. The devourer seemed to absorb the energy, its facets glowing brighter with each hit. Tendrils of pure energy whipped out, slicing through the nearest ships as if they were made of paper. Vrol warships, Etheri cruisers, and human vessels alike crumbled under the onslaught. This isn't working. Admiral Zhang's voice crackled over the comms, tension evident in every word. We need a new strategy now. On the bridge of the UES horizon, Dr. Ilara Chen's mind raced. She turned to Aria's holographic avatar. The progenitors must have fought these things before. How did they defeat them? Aria's response was grim. The progenitors never found a way to destroy the devourers completely. Their most successful strategy was to force them into dormancy by depriving them of energy. Krav, the Vrol ambassador, snarled in frustration. And how are we supposed to deprive that monstrosity of energy when it can feed off our weapons? Ilara's eyes widened as an idea struck her. That's it. We're not depriving it. We're overfeeding it. She quickly outlined her plan. By combining the Vrol's quantum singularity technology, the Etheri's energy manipulation abilities, and the advanced systems of the progenitor ships, they might be able to create an energy surge powerful enough to overload the devourer's capacity to absorb it. It's risky, Zara cautioned, her luminescent skin pulsing with concern. If we miscalculate, we could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. And if we do nothing, countless worlds will die, Ilara countered. We have to try. Admiral Zhang nodded grimly. Make it happen, Doctor. All ships, this is Admiral Zhang. Prepare to execute Operation Overload on my mark. As the plan was relayed across the fleet, ships began to move into position. The progenitor vessels, guided by Aria, formed a massive ring around the cosmic devourer. Vrol ships took up positions at key points within the formation, their quantum singularity generators powering up. Etheri cruisers wove between them, their crews preparing to channel and direct the coming energy surge. The devourer, sensing the change in tactics, increased the ferocity of its attacks. Entire squadrons of ships vanished in bursts of light as its tendrils lashed out. The Allied fleet's numbers dwindled rapidly, but they held their ground, buying time for the plan to come together. Energy matrix is at 60% capacity, Aria reported, its usually calm voice tinged with urgency. Estimated time to full charge, 3 minutes. Ilara gripped her console, watching as the casualty reports scrolled by. Each lost ship represented lives snuffed out in an instant. The weight of her plan, and its potential consequences, pressed down on her. "Incoming," Krav shouted, his scales flashing morning colors. A massive tendril of energy, larger than any before, lashed out directly at the UES horizon. Time seemed to slow as Ilara watched death approach. Suddenly, a progenitor ship moved into the path of the attack. The ancient vessel's shields flared brilliantly as it absorbed the full force of the Devourer's strike. For a moment, it held. Then, with a silent flash, the ship that had slumbered for millions of years waiting to protect humanity disintegrated. "Aria," Ilara whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Why?" The A's response was simple, yet profound. "To preserve life. It is our purpose." The sacrifice seemed to galvanize the remaining fleet. Ships from every race redoubled their efforts, pouring fire into the Devourer to keep it distracted. "Energy matrix at 90% capacity," Aria announced. Commencing final charge. The space around the Devourer began to warp and twist as the combined technologies of multiple civilizations reached their peak. The monster's attacks became more frenzied, as if sensing the coming threat. "This is it." Admiral Zhang's voice rang out. "All ships, execute Operation Overload. Now." A blinding flash erupted from the ring of ships, a focused beam of pure energy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It struck the cosmic Devourer dead center, enveloping the entity in a cocoon of light. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the Devourer's crystalline form began to crack. Fissures of bright energy spread across its surface, growing larger by the second. "It's working," Zora exclaimed, her entire body glowing with the intensity of the moment. But their victory was not yet assured. The Devourer, in its death throes, lashed out with the last of its strength. Tendrils of chaotic energy whipped through space, tearing apart anything they touched. "The energy output is destabilizing," Aria warned. "Spatial rifts are forming. We cannot maintain the beam much longer." Ilara watched in horror as holes in the fabric of space-time began to open around them. Ships unlucky enough to be caught in their pull were twisted and torn apart. "We have to shut it down," she shouted. "We're going to destroy ourselves along with it." "No," Krav roared, his claws digging into his control panel. "We end this now, or die trying." The Vrol ambassador's words seemed to resonate across the fleet. Despite the mounting danger, not a single ship broke formation. United in purpose, the galaxy's once divided races poured every ounce of power they had into the attack. With a final, earth-shattering shriek that reverberated through space itself, the cosmic Devourer shattered. Its crystalline body exploded outward in a nova of energy that momentarily outshone the nearest stars. "All ships, brace for impact." Admiral Zhang's order came just seconds before the shockwave hit. The UES horizon shuddered violently as the wave of energy washed over it. Ilara was thrown from her feet, her head striking the deck hard. As consciousness faded, her last sight was of the viewscreen filled with swirling, chaotic energy. When Ilara awoke, she found herself in the horizon's medical bay. Admiral Zhang stood nearby, looking battered but alive. "Did we?" Ilara began, her voice weak. Zhang nodded, a tired smile on her face. "We did it, Doctor. The Devourer is gone. But the cost?" Her voice trailed off. As Ilara's strength returned, she learned the full extent of the battle's aftermath. Thousands of ships had been lost. Entire sectors of space were now riddled with dangerous spatial anomalies. The galaxy had been saved, but it would bear the scars of this conflict for generations to come. Yet, amid the destruction, a new hope had blossomed. The races of the galaxy, forced to work together in the face of annihilation, had forged bonds that transcended their old rivalries and fears. As representatives from every surviving species gathered to discuss the future, Ilara realized that they had gained something precious. A united galaxy, ready to face whatever challenges the cosmos might throw at them next. The battle was over, But the real work of building a new era of galactic cooperation was just beginning. A new era dawns. In the months following the destruction of the cosmic devourer, the galaxy entered a period of unprecedented change and cooperation. The space station Unity, hastily constructed from the remnants of various alien and human vessels, became the central hub for the newly formed Galactic Alliance. Dr. Ilara Chen stood at the viewport of Unity's main conference chamber, gazing out at the swirling spatial anomalies that now decorated this sector of space. They served as a constant reminder of both the terrible threat they had faced and the price of their victory. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Admiral Zhang's voice came from behind her. The Admiral had aged visibly in the past few months, the stress of rebuilding etched into the lines of her face. Ilara nodded, turning to face her old friend. "It's beautiful, in its own way. Terrible, but beautiful." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the other key members of the Alliance leadership. Krav, the Vrol ambassador, his scales now bearing the scars of battle, nodded respectfully as he entered. Zara, the Aetheri representative, glided in, her luminescent skin pulsing with a calm rhythm that belied the gravity of their meeting. As they took their seats around the circular table, Ari's hologram flickered to life in the center. The AI had become an integral part of the Alliance, its vast knowledge and computational power proving invaluable in the reconstruction efforts. "The galactic survey is complete," Ari began without preamble. "The spatial distortions caused by the Devourer's destruction have rendered 17% of previously inhabited systems uninhabitable. However, the progenitor technology we've adapted has allowed us to begin stabilizing the worst affected areas." Krav leaned forward, his claws tapping thoughtfully on the table. "And what of the worlds we've lost? My people cry out for vengeance against an enemy that no longer exists." "Vengeance will not rebuild homes or bring back the dead," Zora countered, her voice soft but firm. "We must focus on the future, on ensuring such a catastrophe never befalls us again." Admiral Zhang nodded in agreement, which brings us to the main purpose of this meeting. The progenitor fleet has given us access to technology beyond our wildest dreams. The question is, how do we use it? All eyes turned to Ilara. In the aftermath of the battle, she had become the de facto expert on integrating the ancient human technology with that of the other races. The progenitors created their fleet to safeguard life. Ilara began, her voice steadied despite the weight of the moment. "I believe we should honor that intention. We have an opportunity here to uplift all our civilizations, to explore and understand the universe in ways we never could before." She activated a holographic display, showing a network of interconnected worlds. "I propose we use the progenitor ships as the foundation for a new initiative. A combination of research stations, defense outposts, and rapid response units. We can create a network that spans the galaxy, allowing us to face any future threats as a united force." The room was silent for a moment as the implications sank in. It was Krav who spoke first, his usual aggression tempered by a newfound respect. "An ambitious plan, human. But how do we ensure this power isn't abused? That no single race gains an advantage over the others?" Ari's hologram shifted, displaying a complex organizational chart. "I have developed a system of checks and balances, drawing from the most effective governmental structures across all known civilizations. No single race or individual would have unilateral control over the network." Discussion erupted around the table, with representatives debating the finer points of the proposal. Hours passed as they hammered out agreements, compromises, and fail-safes. Finally, as the station's artificial day cycle began to dim, a consensus was reached. Admiral Zhang stood, her posture straight despite her evident exhaustion. "Then we are agreed. The Galactic Defense and Exploration Network will be established, with all member races contributing and benefiting equally." As the meeting adjourned, Ilara found herself once again at the viewport, watching as ships from a dozen different species worked together to stabilize a nearby spatial rift. Zara joined her, the Ethere's presence a comforting glow in the dimness. "You've done something remarkable, Dr. Chen," Zora said softly. "You've given us all a common purpose, a shared future." Ilara shook her head, smiling ruefully. "I just connected the dots. It was the crisis that brought us together." Perhaps Crab's gruff voice joined them, but it takes wisdom to build on such a foundation, rather than retreating back to old rivalries. The three of them stood in companionable silence, watching the ongoing work outside. After a few moments, ARI's hologram appeared beside them. "The first of the new network stations will be operational within the month," the AI reported. "Already, we're seeing unprecedented advances in various scientific fields due to the collaboration between races." Ilara nodded, a sense of cautious optimism filling her. "There's so much out there we don't understand. So many wonders and potential dangers. But for the first time, I feel like we're truly ready to face whatever the universe throws at us." As if in response to her words, a brilliant light flashed in the distance. For a heart-stopping moment, Ilara feared another attack. But then she realized what she was seeing. The successful stabilization of a spatial rift, the chaotic energies transformed into a stable wormhole. "Our first stable transgalactic portal," Araya confirmed. "This will revolutionize travel and communication across the Alliance." As cheers erupted from the ships working on the project, Ilara felt a profound sense of pride and hope. The galaxy had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger, more united than ever before. There would be challenges ahead, of course. Old prejudices and fears wouldn't disappear overnight. The scars left by the cosmic devourer would take generations to fully heal. But as Ilara looked at her companions, human, Vrol, Etheri, and AI, she knew that they had laid the foundation for a brighter future. The ancient progenitors had created their fleet to ensure the survival of life in the face of cosmic horrors. Now, their descendants and the allies they had found among the stars were poised to take that mission even further, not just to survive, but to thrive, to explore, and to unravel the mysteries of the universe together. As the newly stabilized wormhole pulsed with possibility, Ilara Chen smiled. The dawn of a new era had truly begun, and the United Galaxy was ready to step into the light.